Be seated. So if you can rewind about 15 minutes ago, that first hymn, what you think? Like it? If you didn't like it, blame me. It's my favorite hymn, and it's sung on Trinity Sunday. Today is Trinity Sunday, and it's really all I want to say about the Trinity is just singing that hymn. We can sing it again if you want to, James. It's my favorite hymn, and I also got to hear Sarah sing it too. She's not here, but singing next to her is always a treat. So, but today I want to talk about connection, and I want to talk about how we connect with God. There are lots of ways to connect with God. I'll talk about just a couple things today, though. But first of all, I think there's a process that you need to undergo if you want to connect with something bigger than you. And think about the things in your life that you would like to connect with, better connect with, whether it's a relationship or maybe nature or just God in general. The first thing that you need to do is you need to enter. You need to approach. Right? So we think about approaching nature and just stepping out. Maybe you're going to climb a mountain. Maybe you think that you want to climb up to a peak or a summit. And if you've ever done this, you know what this feeling is like. You're climbing up and you're approaching the top of the mountain, and you're just imagining the vista that you're going to see. But it's really nothing compared to when you actually reach the summit. And you're standing up there and you're looking out at the leaves and the trees and the mountains and the hills and the brooks down below and the creeks that you see all around. And everything looks so small because you realize that everything is so incredibly expansive. And you might consider yourself and you say, well, what am I doing in all this? But first of all, you have to approach. You have to get there. You have to be physically present on the mountaintop. Think about it in a relationship. If you want to meet someone, what do you have to do? You have to actually talk to them. I only learned this when I was about 35. But apparently, you have to go up to somebody and say, hello, my name is, whatever your name is. That's what works. You have to approach someone. And to some degree, there's a sense of fear in that. I don't know what it was like for you, but maybe you're a shyer person. Maybe you're not as self-confident as you need to be. And so approaching someone might not be as easy as I'm explaining it. So there's that fear involved. There's a mystery that this person might be really, really cool, and this person might be one of my best friends, or I could really get myself into trouble with this person. This person might not be good for me, but somehow I want to talk with them. Right? So there's a sense of mystery and a sense of fear involved too. With God, what happens to Isaiah is he's swept up in this dream. And he's encompassed in this vision of God flowing, taking up both heaven and earth. Right? And he approaches with this sense of majesty and mystery and fear. Right? There's a dread in Isaiah's stomach. Because all of a sudden, he goes into the second part of connection, which I believe is measuring. He measures himself against situation, and he's found wanting. He says, woe is me. I am ruined. One translation says, I am ruined. Another says, I am undone. Another says, I am lost. In all these translations, it's clear that Isaiah realizes that he is not where he should be, based on who he believes himself to be. He's in the wrong spot. He's standing before God as a representative of his people, and he is found wanting. He feels the sin and the unworthiness of all of his friends on him. And he's in front of God, he's in God's presence, and God is everything that's perfect, and he is everything that is imperfect. He kind of stands out, right? And in measuring himself, he realizes that he does not measure up. And it's like that way with us. When we're on top of that mountain, we realize how insignificant we are. We realize what a small part of creation we play. We realize that in the great expanse of the world, of the universe, we're but a tiny speck of dust floating along, and one day we won't be anymore. It's kind of intimidating. In a relationship, we realize that, wow, this is a person that I want to be with. Do they want to be with me? Right? And they're judging you from the outside. You're judging yourself from the inside. You know all of your secrets. You know all of your weak spots and your blemishes. The other person doesn't know that stuff, but you do. And you say, why does this person want to be with me? I'm so unworthy to be in their presence. They're perfect. And of course, what are they thinking? They're thinking the same thing. Because they're looking at themselves from the inside saying, I shouldn't be with this person. This person could do a lot better than me. Because they only see your outside. They only see what you present. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been to the mall, the Indianapolis Mall, but to have something right in the middle of the mall where I was this week at Starbucks, something right in the middle of the concourse, and it's a booth that you go into. It's a little bit like what they have at TSA, and they have rotating arms that go around your body. I'm not sure how it's done. I didn't see it get done. It was broken, but arms going around your body, and it gives you a perfect 3D full image body scan. It measures you from 200,000 data points to know exactly your shape, exactly what size you wear, and it will print out a list of stores in the mall that you should go to. And if you wear a size 36, these are the stores where the 36s are true. These are the stores where you probably want to try a 38 instead, right? And it tells you what stores you should go to. It's a free service provided by the mall. How wonderful is that? You don't need to measure yourself. It will measure you for you. The fascinating thing about this machine is that it's called me-ality. You get it? Not reality, but me-ality. It measures you for the clothes that it thinks you should wear, that you will look best in. How convenient. And I asked the woman that was working there, I said, so will this tell me, because I kind of look at myself as more of an Abercrombie and Fitch guy. Will this send me to JCPenney's? Is that what's going to happen here? Does it know that I'm 42? She said, no, it'll give you your best look. Your best look. I said, well, that's not telling me anything. But I realized that, we measure ourselves. And I think the mall is a desolately lonely place. It's a very lonely place because you're walking along these store windows and everything is shouting to you, buy, buy. You'll be happy here. You're better if you get this. You need this. Right now you're wanting. And that's not where we need to be. I think we need to be where Isaiah is. Isaiah just kind of clearly says, look, this is what it is. I am unworthy. He doesn't go into the things that he's done. He doesn't go into the dozen cookies that he ate last night watching the game. He just says, I am not worthy to be here. And in that instance, he's made worthy. Just by saying he's unworthy, by measuring himself against God in a clear fashion, no conceit, God makes him worthy. In that moment, he says he's lost, he's found. He says he's undone, Isaiah is made complete. And God lifts him up. Now, the final part of connection is response. What's the response going to be? When we say, I'm not worthy, and God makes us worthy, how do we respond? How do we respond? What will you do going forward to respond to God's absolution, to God's making you a child? When we're in nature, our response can be one of awe, it can be one of worship, it can be one of love and greater care, greater stewardship for the environment. In a relationship, what's it like when you realize that you messed something up and you go to your partner or your spouse and you say, hey, honey, I'm sorry. What's the response then? The response is to love more and to get deeper into a connection. Howard Shute comes to 7:30 service, said something to me. He said, we like to drive out west to go see nature and see God's creation. But he realized you can't see it without one thing. You can't see it without a clean windshield. And I thought, yeah, there's something to that. Right? When our windshield is clean, what's our response? Do we look for God? Do we seek more? Or do we seek less? I think what happens in Isaiah today, in the reading, is essentially a worship service in microcosm. Because think about it. We move in our service from mystery and majesty, to our readings. Maybe there's a sense of fear in the readings. Maybe there's a sense of, God's talking about some really heavy stuff here, and I'm not quite sure I understand. I'm not sure whether I really belong in this space. To that moment of confession, when we say, God, I'm not you. I'm not perfect. I sometimes think more of myself than I should. And I sometimes think less of myself than I should. Sometimes I get angry too quickly. Sometimes I don't stand up for myself. Sometimes I don't love my mother like I should. Sometimes I really resent my dad. When we say things like that, God comes and says, you are forgiven. You are made whole of those things which you are broken in. And then we are received as God's children at the table at communion. We're all received. And finally, we're sent out into the world to respond. This is exactly what happens to Isaiah today. He starts in fear and mystery. He makes confession. He is received, and then he is sent out into the world to do work. I think typically that's what happens to our response. Our response is one of love. It's one of service. It's one of deeper caring and deeper connection. So this is only one way of connecting with God. There's only one way of connecting with someone that's bigger than you. But I think most of all, you've got to have a clean windshield. You've got to have a clean heart. And you get that by saying, my heart's not right. Here are the places where I'm broken, God. Here are the places where I fall short. God will make you whole, and God will connect with you. Amen.